Hello everyone, we're going to be talking about the next 6-ish weeks in War of the Visions because there's a lot of unknowns right now, and I have on the screen right now this image that I have created that has a kind of a benchmark for what we might expect, and I'll kind of walk through it at a glance right now. And you can see over on the side we've got Helena crying because she was supposed to be this week, but instead we have Sylvie, and then the next week should be Dark Ramuh, but Dark Ramuh was a card that was very much for Summer Helena that we have here. So I wonder if that's still going to be what we are getting. I would assume so, but we are getting Sylvie right now. Then after that, we would move into December, and we can see Cherise and Lissette there, and that should still be the case. So Cherise is a 70 cost wind unit. We'll talk about her, and Lissette is a free MR that we're going to get. Now, at this point in week 2 of December, JP would start their Dragon Quest Monsters collab, and they would have the free slime unit, they would have the VC you see on the far left of the 3 VCs, and Zoma would come out as well as a unit. In the second week, we would see Psaro come out with his VC. We'd also see a raid that allows you to get the raid VC in the middle there that has Liart in the feature. So that would be 2 weeks, week 2 and 3 of December. And then in week 4, we would move on into this VC and Warrior of Crystals rotation. However, we know for a fact that we are going to get our global exclusive Shadowlynx. So what I'm kind of wondering here is, are we going to get this Shadowlynx in the final week to give us some distance between her and Sylvie? Are we going to get the winter reruns around this time as well? And in that case, how do we fill up these 3 weeks here in December compared to JP? Because we actually have this whole collab. So maybe this entire collab is going to come down into 1 week, into week 2, or potentially it's going to get pushed all the way into January. Maybe it comes out in a couple of weeks, but we also get some winter units laced in there as well. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen, and I know a lot of people in the comments will have a very good idea of what they think is going to happen, but if we can't really say for certain, so maybe even Summer Helena comes back and is put into this week 2 slot, and we have the Dragon Quest banner get pushed into January. I don't know, but as soon as we get through everything that's on screen, then we're going to go into this top right section where we have the new Water Warrior of the Crystal unit and these new VCs that are all going to be job / weapon specific VCs. We're going to get a mixture of both of those, and there'll be an Earth Warrior of Crystal, etc. And then we're moving into where JP is now. So it's a pretty exciting time. Let's break down what all these different units do and how effective they might be, and then you can kind of plan for if you want to save for something or not. All right, so we're not going to talk about the Sylvie banner because I already kind of went over her preview, and I'll do a should you pull video tomorrow. So instead, we're going to go to week 5 and talk about Dark Ramuh, which is going to be an Esper and VC. Now this is for wind and lightning units on the VC specifically, and you can see the unit effect is 10% missile resist, 20% spirit penetration, decrease evasion rate 5. The party effect is 50% magic up, 10% slash resist, and 15% earth resist. So this is a very strong party effect. Being able to grab a magical boost while also getting some defensive stats is a really nice marriage of 2 great stat lines for a party effect, and then earth resist is going to be good for the lightning units that are able to equip this. The VC is also really solid in terms of having 4 defense, 3 spirit, 40 dex. It does have 184 magic. It doesn't have any attack. So this is definitely a magic user's VC if that wasn't already apparent from the spirit penetration. Now, if we look at the Esper, it has 20 agility, so that's huge. The evocation for it, which we don't use a lot of, but it's good to look at them, can dispel, protect, and shell. And then notable nodes on here: 25% slash resist, 15% crit rate, 25% lightning attack, 25% human killer, 15% magic attack. So a lot of very powerful nodes for a lot of different units. This is a very good Esper VC combo. This is probably one of my favorite dark Espers that we've seen so far, and I think for a lot of players this is a good pickup. However, I just cannot abide by the pity system for these Esper VCs, so I personally will be skipping it, and I think that most people will be skipping it unless they think it's an absolute slam dunk for their team. If you're free to play, even though it would make your account better, you really have to decide whether an Esper VC is really that important for you, or if you'd rather pull more units. But if you feel really good with your account and what you're aiming for in the future, then maybe you'd risk the chance of having to pity this for 36k. All right, so this takes us into December, and the first week we have Cherise, who is a 70 cost wind unit. She has the hunter job, and she's got a pretty interesting TMR because it gives you 20% AP consumption decrease and 40% dex, which is a pretty big dex boost, which will help with your accuracy and also your damage for certain units and your critical rate, etc. So this also has 2 uses, good to see. This is going to be a unit that's very important for people that love limited content. So Wind already has an excellent 70 cost unit in Halloween Little Leela, and now you'll be able to go to 140 with 2 URs, which is pretty incredible. Now, if you're wondering what she does, she's very similar to Eliza in a lot of ways as a hunter, but she has some unique things, including a 25% missile resistance buff on her agility buff. She can also decrease the range and missile attack of other units, which means that she can go against other missile units and make them shorter range. She also has a 25% missile resist imperil on her job level 25 skill, which is very good for PvE as well as PvP, and her LB has a full dispel and decreased chance of being targeted. So all really good stuff. She's got no ranger sub, it means no reflex and no sharpshoot or barrage, but she does have gunner sub, which has aimed fire, which is a really nice buff to bring to any sort of ranged unit. Then we have Lissette, which is an MR that we'll get for free and then have some quests to earn all of her shards. She's a 50 cost, so it means that she's great for that limited content and selection quests. She has a Nightblade and Spellblade sub job, so she has a ton of utility. She can raise a lot of different types of resistances, and her TMR weapon is going to be able to increase the damage cap by 1500. So if you're wondering what type of unit she is, she's a pugilist, and she's a critical hit, critical damage type of unit. Her pugilistic mastery gives allies a 20% physical boost, just like Hope does, and she can also give herself 25% single resist. She can even decrease crit evasion on her job level 25 skill before damage, and so even higher chance of critting, and once she hits them, she decreases their agility by a significant amount. So overall, I'm not as impressed with her as the other free MRs. She's, certainly not on a McLeod level. She's got very low attack, very low agility, but she will come in handy in Selection Quest, and she will come in handy in some limited content. I'm thinking maybe limited guilds battle if you were to build a mono lightning team, but even then, I don't know. I think you would probably go for someone like Liart and try to sneak more 100 costs into your team. Week 2 of December will maybe bring us the Dragon Quest collab, so I will talk about that now. I'm going to talk about everything Dragon Quest. So first up is the Formidable Enemy Appeared VC. The unit effect for this is 10% magic up and 10% AoE resistance. Now this is for anybody. Then the party effect is very limited to certain jobs, but it's pretty good because you get 24% slash resist, 28 magic attack up, and 15 agility up. So 24% slash resist is the best that we've got on any sort of card. That's a really big deal. The fact that you get slash resist and agility up is pretty significant. Now this card doesn't have any attack stat. You want to put it on a magic user. It has this insane party effect that gives you offense, defense, and agility all in one, and I think that this stands out for certain compositions because only axe wielders, bow users, and fist users and glove users can utilize this. So an ice team with Zoma and Rosa, Eliza, Snow, those are all people that would possibly be able to use this together. So I think if you're pulling for Zoma, then this is a really good pull. And maybe if you have some other glove users that you really like and you think you could make a rainbow team, then this might be a really good thing for any of those magic glove users. It's certainly quite a pushed VC, and the fact that it's limited is really scary. It makes me want to pull it just in case, but that's a really tricky thing to decide. Next up, we have Slime, who is a free unit. You can build him over time, over the event, with free shards that you get from quests. Now, these quests only allow you to use Slime, so you might want to have some good gear and VCs for him. Luckily, he can equip all weapons and gear, so you can just, figure out what your best VCs are, put them on him. He can use all weapons, which means he can use all of the new types of VCs. He's a super interesting unit, very fun to use, but nothing game-breaking. He's not going to be like a meta unit. And his TMR is also quite interesting because it increases the blind, charm, and and slow and frostbite resistances all by 15%. Next up is Zoma, who is a ice magic unit and a glove user. He's got a TMR that gives 15% pierce, strike, and missile resistance, and that's 2 uses, so that's actually a pretty good utility TMR. Now he's going to start the battle with 15% extra resistance to all attack resistances. So that's really good. All your slash, your missile, your pierce, your strike, and your magic, he gets 15% for 3 turns, similar to how Golbez starts for 3 turns with a bunch of boosts. Now the 3 turns is kind of not as good. I would have loved to see 4 turns here because that actually runs out quite quickly, especially if you don't engage. But he does also have the Devout sub, so he gets even more defense and spirit. He's got self-heal. Under 50%, just like a lot of our, like Little Leela does. He's got access to heals on his sub jobs, and he even has a 35% all damage barrier and a 20% ally HP increase. So he is going to be kind of like a bruisery mage, ideally. Now, the thing is, he doesn't have any sort of re-raise or courage, but he does have some other stuff, including a counter that has a full dispel and a really long range. He can imbue himself with a dispel of haste and shell. So he puts this buff on, and then whenever he hits somebody, if they have shell or haste, it dispels them. He can even inflict status effects like sleep, slow, frostbite, and spirit break. And then his LB is really neat for anything PvE because it has a 38% magic resistant peril and a 100% counter chance reduction. So his LB is going to hit for a lot of damage on a lot of units. He's a very powerful unit. He only has a few cast times as well. I'm uncertain of how bulky he'll actually be, but he'll certainly be more bulky than Golbez was. Next up is Psaro, who is a fire evasion unit. He has a 25% boost to magic and missile evasion, which is really awesome in my opinion. His TMR gives haste and decreases the chance of being targeted, but it only has 1 use. That's too bad. When his HP is 40% or greater, then he has reaction block rate and physical damage up permanently. He even has evasion triggers that counter every single time he evades, which give him 20% more defense pen and slash resistance pen. He has an evasion buff that gives 25% agility and 25% evasion for 3 turns, and he has 2 uses of courage. So he looks like a really solid evasion unit that has courage and that has the potential to deal lots of damage. He even has a non-type, non-elemental attack with a defense break, and he can break barriers and ignore courage. His LB has a full dispel because apparently that's what all LBs have for now for the rest of time, and he has a ton of good passives. It's actually really difficult to choose which passive you might want to use with him. He has a lot of good skills, but he has a lot of good skills with very short ranges. He does have some ranged attacks, but he also has some very, very short range attacks. And you definitely want to farm for his sword, which gives him 20% slash pen, 15% AP consumption decrease, and 15% luck. Now, some people are saying that he's dead on arrival, and evasion is always going downhill. I totally disagree. I think depending on which units are pushed and which units are in the meta, evasion can come in and out as needed, and he is someone that we're hearing is doing quite well in JP on the guild battle side. Now we'll talk about the raid VC, which will be a free VC for everybody. You just have to get the shards through the raid or the kind of the quests that come with it. So the unit effect for anybody is 15% up, and the party effect for limited jobs is 30% human killer, 16% magic resistance, and 20% strike resistance. It's got beautiful artwork, that's first of all, and then the strike and magic resistance actually makes this pretty interesting because it's a lot of defensive stats, and there's way more strikers in the game right now. The bestowed effect looks bland, but it's actually very powerful. If you were to put this on a tank, then they would get 15% HP up. That's pretty big. So this can be used by certain sword wielders, spear users, and mace users. So that's where the card really limits itself, but it is free, so that's what it is what it is. And then finally, we have the card for Psaro, who is a fire unit and gets a fire card, not a job specific card. So the unit effect is 20% defense penetration and 5 evasion rate up. Now we know that Psaro will get a global buff for this card as well, as they always do. But the party effect is also pretty good. It has 10% HP up, 35% luck up, and 15% agility up. So this is the slam dunk Evasion card because it gives you 2 of the max effects in one party effect. So luck up and agility up is kind of a big deal to have in one card. And what it really means is it consolidates your cards, and all of a sudden you can spare, the slot to have a second card. Maybe it's Ifrit, or maybe it's that Ramada card that gives you acquired AP up and attack up. Whatever it is, the point is that this is a super pushed fire evasion VC, and I'm here for it. I'm going to be pulling for it for sure. It's essential for Psaro and Valentine Ildira, and then also Yuffie when she comes out at the 3rd-year anniversary. Now, you should note that there is no magic on the VC. It's attack and luck, but there's no magic stats. So you can't put this on magic units unless you want to take a hit on their total stats. At this point, we'd be at the end of December, and we're likely going to be getting some winter unit reruns, some VC reruns, and then the Winter Lynx banner. Now, I say Winter Lynx because she was originally going to be a winter unit, and we could use Winter Mind Spheres on her. They didn't want us to do that, so they changed her to a GLEX unit. It's kind of a bummer. If you look at her, she is a winter unit by design. If you look at when she's coming out, it's during the winter season. She's for all intents and purposes is actually a winter unit. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's already designed and has like a winter themed LB or something. And they're just really, that would be really telling if that's what happens, but I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see. Either way, she's going to be coming out at the end of the month, and it's very interesting, trying to decide or figure out which element she's going to end up being. I'm kind of hoping for fire. I wish we could be told which element it was, because that would really help me decide whether to pull for Sylvia or not. I'm absolutely horrified that Addison Rae would be the fire unit, and if that happens, I'll be pretty choked. I'm really hoping Lynx is a fire unit, and then I can go for Psaro and for Lynx and spend all my viz and be a happy little Mysidian, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, so that's going to be it for this unit planning guide. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you think there's going to be a different order, if you think that they're going to split up the Dragon Quest event or send it off to another month, or tell me what element you think that Lynx is going to be. I mean, you can just tell me it's fire. Please tell me it's fire. Otherwise, we'll just have to see how this unravels for ourselves and make decisions as they come along. And the first one's going to be tomorrow when Sylvie releases. So good luck to everybody pulling for her, and happy saving to everybody else. And I'll see you all in the next video.